Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Now let's move to the broader meanings of justice. Justice protects the rights of the individuals as well as the order of the society, Dr. Apple says. That means justice is one thing in case the rights are being exploited. With the help of judiciary and the justice, a person can save that thing and can save his or her individual identity. Next is your justice consists in a system of understanding and a procedure through which each is accorded what is agreed upon fair. E. Merriam says. Justice means to distribute the due share, and justice means distribute the due share to everybody, Salmon says. Now, there are few key features with these definitions, like justice is related to mutual relationship of persons living in society. Justice is based on values and tradition of the society. Justice is related to all aspects of human behavior in society. Laws are made and courts are set up with this claim in view. Why it is being so? Why it is called that this is mutual relationship? Why these features include the mutual relationship of the persons we see? Why it is like that? Because the people, those who are living in the society, whether they want it or they don't want it, they have to be with them in the society, because this is the place where do we live and where we have to live with mutual consent of each other, and we have to do the accommodations, we have to adjust, we have to share the things, we have to share everything. Like if we say that only happiness is to be shared, no. If somebody has sorrows, that also has to be shared. Then we have to share the culture in the form of values and traditions. Then justice is related to all aspects of human behavior in society. Whether the person is positive thinker or the negative thinker, that person has to be positive or negative thinker. We have to take care of that person, and laws are made and courts are set up with this aim in. Values and traditions means culture we have to share. Then mutual relationship, that means the way of communication, the way we greet each other. So everything has to be mutually shared. So what are the kinds of justice? Justice are justice are of many kinds. Let's take the first one, that is the legal justice. Legal justice means rule of law and not a rule of any person. It includes two things: that all men are equal before law and that law is equally applicable. And as far as the legal is concerned, I said like two factors are there. What are those two factors? Uh, the need for just laws and the just administration. The first one is the need for just laws, as I said. Just laws means which are full of justifications. There should not be any partiality. The laws which are in favor of people. These laws serve as a norm of conduct for citizens and act as a guidance of acceptable behavior. We need the law to ensure equality and parity in communities, and many believe that a society without laws would be a society in a state of chaos. Yes, if people would not have fear of any kind of laws, they might create chaos, and there will be lot of conflicts. Like in if laws are not there, then people have conflicts. They would not be feared. That means not be feared, and few people would feel insecure also, because this is the point of view of safety too. Why administration of laws is required? What is the requirement of this? Why do we need it? The just administration of laws. The existence of just laws alone is not enough. That is why administration of laws are required. Let's see how. It is also necessary that dispensation of justice is not excessively delayed, and it should not involve much expenditure and judicial procedures in our country, and are very expensive and dilatory. In the year 1985, the Supreme Court of India delivered judgment in the case of an employee of the Delhi milk scheme named Shankar Das, and who had to struggle of 21 years to get the justice. It is really surprising that an ordinary person could fight such a long drawn out battle. And in a court of law, it is rightly said, fight such a long and delayed is justice delayed. That means administrative law is a law relating to the administrative operation of government. It deals with the power and duties of administrative authorities, the procedure followed by them in exercising the powers and discharging the duties. This is my personal opinion that we should utilize all these administrative laws and for the welfare of the people so that they should not wait, as in this case he had to wait for 21. So he or she should not wait for a long period of time, but the decision should be given as soon as possible by the administrative actions. Now, what are the reasons for expansion of administrative law? Why these are being lingered on? The doctrine of laissez-faire has given place to the doctrine of welfare state, and this has led to the proliferation of administrative powers and functions. It is demanded by the people that the government must solve their problems rather than merely define their rights. It is felt that right of equality under the Indian constitution will be a sterile right unless the government comes forward to actively help the weaker sections of the society to bring out equality in reality. Now, what is the administrative directions are to be used? The law court should enjoy full freedom and in settling the disputes. Judges are generally called upon the judge the cases impartially and not to be swayed by the thoughts of enmity, friendship, fear for an allurement. Like administrative direction, it is a most efficacious technique for achieving same kind of uniformity in the exercise of administrative discretion and determination of policy and its uniform application. So these instructions also serve the purpose of providing desired flexibility to the administration devoid of technicalities and involved in rule making process. What exactly the conclusion of this administrative law and the procedure is that the best designation for the system of legal principles which settles the conflicting claims of executives and administrative authority on the one side and the individual and private right on the other. Now let's move to the next justice, that is your political justice. Declaration of Human Rights proclaimed that energy one has the right to take part in the government of this country directly or through freely chosen representatives. Now, political justice means giving equal political rights. The very first right is like right to vote, opportunities to all the citizens to take part in the administration of the country, in the decision making. People can interfere. Like these days, you must have seen if people have objection, they just do question the authorities, the administration of the country on social media. And citizens should have the right to vote without any discrimination on the basis of religion, color, caste, creed, sex, birth, or status. And every citizen should have an equal right to vote and to contestation. As we all do have equal rights at home also, because parents treat us equally. They don't believe that elder one is more important or the younger one is more important. They just do it for all the children. If they have two children, then for two. If they have three or one, so it hardly depends on the number, but they believe on the quality. Same way, the political justice means that people should have the equal rights and they should interfere anywhere in the decision making of the administrative work, and there should not be any kind of discrimination because India itself is a secular state, so discrimination doesn't matter. Then the moral justice, when the laws do not meet the social values and the rules of morality, citizens, and in this situation, the enforcement of laws becomes a problem. Now, laws are just only when these are accepted not out of fear of external power, but when inspired by internal feeling for the laws being good, just, and reasonable. Like morality is concerned with rightness actually. Otherwise, justice itself means rightness. But when laws do not meet the social values and rules of morality, so that means moral justice. Like The things should be in favor of people. They must think of humanity. And according to Aristotle, like every community is formed for the sake of some good things, moral things. That means good, positive, supportive, and state, which is the supreme community, must aim at the supreme good. In other words, the laws of the legal structure of a country must reflect what we know is right or proper. Now, the social justice. Social means related to society. What is this? Social justice is another name for equal social rights. Social justice aims to provide equal opportunities to every individual to develop his inherent qualities. And social democrats and modern liberal thinkers define social justice as an attempt to reconstruct, that means to maintain again, and the social order in accordance with moral principles. Attempts are to be continuously made to rectify social injustice. It also stands for a morally just and defensible system of distribution of reward and organization in society without any discrimination or injustice against any persons or class of persons. Plus, liberty, equality, and fraternity, all those values are basic components of social justice. And there are some important elements of social justice. Like, first one is revision of the social order. It becomes necessary that society keeps on changing according to the changed conditions, and evil practices like untouchability should be avoided now. In the Indian Constitution, several provisions have been provided with a view to secure social, economic, and political justice. And that is, every citizen has a grant of like this thing, that untouchability is has to be abolished, and every citizen has been granted an equal right of access to any public place of worship and use of places of entertainment. Now, there were few revisions of social orders. What were those revisions? Like, the state cannot discriminate between citizens on the basis of birth, caste, color, creed, sex, faith, or title. It is mentioned in the Constitution, and again we are reading about it. And untouchability and apartheid are against the spirit of social justice. Untouchability was based on community, and apartheid was racism on the color of like white and black, and are against the spirit of social justice. Absence of privileged classes in society is an essential attribute of social justice. A prohibition of exploitation. Many things are being exploited. Even the human beings. Human beings are exploited in so many ways. Like, they are even sold out. Let's see how. Prohibition of traffic in human beings of forced labor. That means the smuggling of human beings. And forced labor means the children, those who are not willing to work, even then they are told to work. Like, traffic in human beings and beggar and other similar forms of forced labor are prohibited, and any contravention of this provision shall be an offence punishable in accordance with law. An exploitation of man by man should be brought to an end. An Indian constitution envisages this ideal of justice as well, and the constitution prohibits traffic in human beings and beggar and other similar form of forced labor. And forced labor, child labor, is an inhuman practice which takes away the opportunity of having a normal childhood from the children. It hampers their growth and mental well-being of children. It also disables them from having normal, fun-filled childhood. Prohibition of employment of children in factories, etc. Constitution prohibits these children. Those who work as child labor, they have been prohibited. Like, Article 24 states that any child under the age of 14 years cannot be employed as a worker in any factory or be engaged in any other hazardous employment, because the children of this age are provided with free education all over the country. Then, protection of interest of minorities. Indian Constitution provides that the minorities have a right to establish educational institutions for the purpose of preserving their culture and language. And the state, while giving financial aid, shall not discriminate against each or such minority institution. Article 16 protects the interest of minorities by granting abolition of untouchability and its protection in any form. Article 30 administers all minorities, whether based on religion or language, to have the right to establish and administration educational institutions of their choice. Now, it is essential that states should provide just and humane conditions of work and opportunities for social and cultural development. The state should raise the standard of public health and make adequate arrangements for education, because this is the right of a citizen to get all the amenities like employment, Medicare, and education, and this should be done in free of cost. But somehow it is not possible. But whereas when government has made the policies for few people, those who are economically weaker section, they get all these things very much free. Now, the Indian Constitution provides an essential these things as an essential requirement of the people, and human conditions of work and opportunities for social and cultural development. And the state should raise the standard of public health and make adequate management. And in India, payment of wages is governed by Muslim Wages Act 1948. This is important. This is the act which has been used, and it has amended from time to time. Like whenever it is required, it was amended. And the Constitution provides for free and compulsory education to children in the age group of 16 years. The economic justice now. What is economic justice? Economic itself means related to money. What exactly it is? What is the meaning? That means monetary, financial justice. Okay, what comes to your mind if I say that financial justice? Do we get money? Do we get something like that? Or something else? No, it's not like that. We don't even know what exactly this economic justice is. Economic justice is indeed closely related to social justice, because economic system is always an integral part of the social system. Economic rights and opportunities available to an individual are always a part of the entire social system. Because social justice, the elements of social justice, they deal with a number of questions such as rights and duties, liberty, and then legal structure and the distribution of wealth. Plus here we shall discuss some important elements as well, like economic justice demands that all citizens should have adequate opportunities to earn their livelihood and get fair wages as can enable they do to develop further. The state should provide them economic security during illness, old age, and in the event of disability. Now, what is the conclusion of all these type of justice? Under Indian Constitution, the use of social justice is accepted in wider sense, which includes both social and economic justice. According to Justice Gajendra Gadkar, in this sense, social justice holds the aim of equal opportunity to every citizen in matter of social and economical activities and to prevent inequality. Because we have to prove our country the secular state, so all people would get the equal opportunities and all the citizens are equally treated, no special status is given, so that we can prevent all the inequalities and the conflicts related to inequalities. To accept right to equality as an essential element of justice, our constitution prohibits unequal behavior on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, but constitution accepts a strict compliance of formal equality will lead to inequality. Differential treatment is a corollary to equality of treatment without extending such differential treatment, which is preferential in relation to the non-disadvantaged. There is no level of playing field. Because there is a remarkable progress in the economy, science and technology, infrastructure development, but the gap between the rich poor is widening. Rich are becoming more richer, poor is becoming more poorer. And the socially they are excluded status is a product of multiple and intersecting inequality. The Constitution should be interpreted in such a manner to make it a living document in order to fulfill the aspirations of the people. And the judiciary has played a great role in updating the Constitution through its positive interpretation. And the collective effort of all the governments, or organ of government, which led the social justice to all the citizens. The need of hour is to ensure the proper and balanced implementation of policies so as to make social justice as an effective vehicle of social progress. Plato, a great thinker, implies a life of people conforming to the rules of functional specialization means that one man should practice only one thing to which his nature is best suited. He refers justice to be related to the social order. He explains justice for the individual and the state on the basis of tripartite theory of appetite, courage, and wisdom, and the three classes in a society corresponding three elements of soul, and that is producers, militia, and the ruler means harmonious order between these classes. When each class minds one's own business without meddling in other classes, justice exists in the state and the individual justice consists in keeping a balance between different elements. Now, the just distribution of resources to achieve social justice in society, governments might have to more than just ensure that laws and policies treat individuals in a fair manner. Or it also concerns the just distribution of goods and services, whether it is between nations or between different groups and individuals within the society. Because within a country, social justice would require not only that people be treated equally in terms of laws and policies of the society, but also that they enjoy some basic equality of life conditions and opportunities. And in our country also, constitution has abolished the practice of untouchability to promote social equality and ensure that people belonging to the lower castes have access to temples, jobs, and basic necessities like water. And in fact, the state government have also taken some measures to redistribute important resources like land in more fair manner by instituting land reforms. And if there are serious economic or social inequalities in a society, it might become necessary to try and redistribute it. So, the differences of opinions and uh, matters such whether and how to distribute resources and ensure equal access to education and jobs arouse furious passions in the society. So therefore they have a equal treatment in the society. They have the same policies and some better policies for those economically weaker sections, those who are facing the problems, so that they can enjoy some basic equality of life conditions and opportunities. And it is seen that necessary for each person to be able to pursue his or her objective and express himself or herself. And this in our country, for instance, that untouchability has been abolished and people are belonging to lower caste have access to temple jobs and basic necessities like water. Now, the two guiding principles. What are these two guiding principles? First is the principle of equal liberty. Each person has to have equal right, the most extensive basic liberty, compatible with similar liberty for others. Second, the difference principle, social and economic inequalities, which are just only if they result in compensating benefits, particularly for the least advantaged in a society. Now we have some pursuing social justice also. If in a society deep and persistent divisions exist between those who enjoy greater wealth and property and the power which goes with such ownership and those who are excluded and deprived, we would say the social justice is lacking there. And justice does not require absolute equality and sameness in the way in which people live. It depends from person to person. It varies from person to person what kind of things are to be done with that person. As if we could say if somebody is thief and someone is murderer, would be the punishment same? No. So absolute equality and sameness in the way in which people live. So, but a society would be considered unjust if the differences between rich and poor are so great that they seem to be living in different worlds altogether. And if it is relatively deprived, have no chance to all to improve the conditions, and however hard they may work. And in other words, a just society should provide people with the basic minimum conditions to enable them to live healthy and to secure lives and develop their talents as well as equal opportunities to pursue their chosen goals in society. How can we decide what are the basic minimum conditions of life? Various methods of calculating the basic needs of people have been devised by different governments and by international organizations like the WHO. And in general, it is agreed that basic amount of nourishment needed to remain healthy housing, supply of clean drinking water, education, and minimum wage would constitute an important part of these three basic conditions. Providing people with their basic needs is considered to be one of the responsibilities of a democratic government. And if we say, however, providing such basic conditions of life to all citizens may pose a heavy burden on governments, particularly in countries like India, which we have a large number of poor people. How can we decide what are the basic minimum conditions? Providing people with their basic needs is considered to be one of the responsibilities of a democratic government. Yes, government has started so many policies there. Like if we talk about like Pradhan Mantri Yojana are there, Ladli Yojana, then they have the basic requirement like food to be provided to all, and then they have Jan Dhan Yojana. Then gas was the LPG gas was provided to the villagers, and employment like they have Narega, like for 100 days employment system is there. So, however, providing such basic conditions of life to all citizens may pose a heavy burden on government, and particularly like India, which is have a large number of poor people, and though we are the second largest country in terms of population as well. So, conflicting solutions to the problem of achieving equality, even if we all agree that states should try and help the most disadvantaged members of the society to enjoy some degree of equality with others, disagreements could still arise regarding the best methods of achieving this goal. Two methods are debated on this issue, like promoting open competition without free markets would be the best way of helping the disadvantaged without harming the better of members of a society. And the second one is the government should take on the responsibility of providing a basic minimum to the poor, if necessary, even though a redistribution of resources. In our country, these different approaches are being supported by different political groups who debate the relative merits of different schemes for helping marginalized sections of the population, such as the rural or the urban poor. Now, moving towards the security of the justice also. How the justice could be secured? What are the ways to secure the justice? Criteria of impartiality. It is very clear with its name that it should not be like that there should be any impartiality. Satisfaction of the basic minimum needs, protective discrimination, individual freedom as well as larger good of society. Let's see what this criteria of judicial impartiality. Impartiality, independence brings, like judicial independence brings with its responsibility to administer the law impartially. Judicial impartiality is a fundamental component of justice. And it is significant, important in the scheme of justice. It means that nobody shall be discriminated against on grounds of religion, caste, gender, race, or place of birth. Judges are expected to be impartial arbiters. So those legal disputes are decided according to the law, free from the influence of bias or prejudice or political pressures. See, here in cartoon we could see justice isn't blind, but many times it doesn't see because it chooses to look the other way. The code of judicial conduct requires a judge to be classified, it is qualified from presiding over any proceedings in which the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. So this means that the judges are disqualified from presiding over cases not only when they are in fact partial to one side or the other, but also when there is an appearance of partiality to the reasonable observer also. And a one-sided conversation can give unfair advantage to one of the parties. Because when you listen to only one party and give that kind of judgment, which is called partial, So it means you have not listened to any of the parties properly. You have just favored the one. And ex party conversation by judges strictly prohibited by the court. Next is your satisfaction of the basic minimum need. Under this theory, the justice is a balance of benefits and burdens, and its needs are relevant to just distribution only, insofar as they express actual burdens not in their own right. And it is the calling of justice that man basic needs must be satisfied. Such needs, of course, would differ from the needs of the rest of the country. They also change with the passage of time too, and to the extent to which unmet important needs are a burden in one's life and constitute an important impediment to achieving one's life's plans, they should be considered as creating a disequilibrium of benefits and burdens. It is not the existence of any needs that it is a proper reason for compensatory action. It is not even the existence of any important unmet needs that it is sufficient reason for a compensation. After all, the need for love, self respect, or self realization is important, but the fact it is unmet is not a sufficient reason for social compensation. The quest for food, education, and health will remain illusionary unless we provided uneducated income to each family. And according to socio-economic census on 3rd July 2015, it was estimated that about 31.2% of the rural population in India is being poor. Now, the protective discrimination. Like it has been stated earlier that nobody should be subject to discrimination, and some discrimination, however, can be made on just and proper grounds. Dalits in India had been treated unfairly in the past, and therefore special facilities and privileges were provided to them. Protective discrimination is a policy of granting special privileges to the downtrodden and the unprivileged sections of the society, the minorities, the weaker section, and mostly common women. These are affirmative action programs, most visible in both the United States and India, where there has been a history of racial and caste discrimination. Here you could see the protective discrimination, how people are protesting for all this. There are certain provisions in the Constitution providing equality of opportunity to all by prohibiting discrimination to remove disparities between privileged and underprivileged classes. The main reason behind protective discrimination is to provide the necessary facilities to the deprived sections for their upliftment. In all the civilized societies, some concessions are available to those who are handicapped. And in the words of John Rawls, justice is not an ethic of rewards but an ethic of redress. That means who are highly gifted must get proper reward, but it is all the more necessary to improve the lot of least advantaged sections of the society. I would like to be known as a person who is concerned about freedom and equality and justice and prosperity for all. That means I need an individual identity in which I could feel freedom, equality, justice, and prosperity, and above all, harmony. US President Jimmy Carter once said the best way to enhance freedom in other lands is to demonstrate here that a democratic system is worthy of emulation. Because individual freedom and as well as larger good of society. Concept of justice lays due stress on the dignity of an individual, and citizens are provided with various kinds of freedoms for the sake of protecting their respect and dignity. And individual freedom, which is referred to as individualism, is basically the relationship between the concept of freedom and the concept of autonomy. Autonomy means the right to govern oneself. Individual freedom, in general terms, means the freedom that a person has to express themselves and in appearing equal before a court of law. That means the liberal democrats are of view that better economic results are obtained for society by leaving commerce and industry as far as possible in private hands. And in modern times, globalization has gone hand in hand with market economy to maintain this individual freedom. It includes basic rights such as the right of assembly, the freedom of rest, and the security and liberty and of privacy. It means that every individual who is a part of society has a freedom to act according to his own will without coercion from any external source. The reason why people want this freedom, because freedom is a natural requirement of humans from birth. Each individual has the ability to control his or her own actions, or at least aims to seek autonomy, to be able to have control over his own behavior. And let's sum up the chapter with a conclusion that a set of ideas, value, and social practices to ensure that all persons and groups enjoy economic security, can participate effectively in democratic decisions, making exercise mutual respect, caring for one another, and live their lives in ways that protect and sustain the natural environment for future generations. In conclusion, it is vital that decision makers understand the importance of the different types of justice when engaging with people in consultation processes and decision making process. Decision makers must understand the long term consequences on the communities, why acceptance of outcome is harder to obtain if they fail to devise and deliver decision making processes that also involved can perceive as just and fair.